Welcome to chapel today. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a very special day planned for you, as you can see. David Brooks, who is a well-known op-ed columnist for the New York Times, had this to say about the 2016 presidential election campaign yesterday. The election campaign isn't really about policy proposals, issue solutions, or even hope. It's led by two candidates who arouse gargantuan anxieties, fear, and hatred in their opponents. This sort of divisiveness, backbiting, and ad hominem attacks on the integrity of another person seem like they're more suited for reality TV shows than serious political dialogue. Now, as someone who buys wholeheartedly into the gospel teachings and ministry of Jesus, what concerns me most isn't necessarily the answers to issues right now, but it's how we are having the conversation. We seem to have lost in our country, in our churches, in our schools, the ability to extend respect and empathy across political boundaries. Speaking to a room where many of you have similar allegiances to Jesus, let me remind you of this. When we speak poorly or meanly about someone running for political office or someone who supports a given candidate, we fail in our mandate to see all people as created in God's image. We neglect what is central to Jesus' teachings when we put issues over people. So, having said that, today we have Mr. Pugh and 4 AP government students who are going to share with us a little bit about their reactions to this presidential election. They're going to share maybe some of their frustrations and dialogue how they are experiencing this as not only first-time voters, but as almost first-time voters as well. So would you please welcome Mr. Pugh and these students.
Good morning. You guys know these guys, I hope. Griffin, Danner, Grant, and Bella. They have only seen these questions about 10 minutes ago. Okay, I didn't want them to be totally caught off by this moment. So I have a few questions I want to ask them. They are AP government students. They are well versed in government, but they are also deep people. They are thinkers, and so they are people that I very much respect. Just to remind you of what's coming up. With yesterday being the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, every 4 years. Now that is a strange wording, but that is the wording that our Constitution has in front of us. The first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, every 4 years, we'll wake up 2 weeks from today with a new vice president and a new president. Also flying under the radar, elections are also being held for a third of the nation's senators and every one of the members of the House of Representatives, not to mention the fact that at least one justice on the Supreme Court, likely more, will be selected by the new president and face confirmation by the new Senate. So we start with that, and we'll just go down the line right here. Griffin, you get the first one. And by the way, Griffin is going to walk out on us in just a few minutes, and that's going to be okay. All right, I'm just telling you, so when it happens, you'll know it's all right. Griffin's in a college class. He's actually going to be a few minutes late to that to finish this up, but I'm not going to make him a lot late to it. So when he leaves, just understand that it's okay with that. So let me ask you this, and each of you respond pretty quickly here. How important is this election to you? Griffin, it's your first.
It's pretty important. This is the president. He's going to lead our country. But no matter what, the executive powers don't have that much influence on our country. So whether it's Hillary or Trump, it's not going to make a huge difference on the outcome of the rest of our country.
Okay.
So it is so important because after 8 years of the same president, we are going to have a turnover of power, which is just kind of awesome and kind of scary at the same time. So it's really exciting to see, like, no matter who it is, some things will happen, and I think that it's really cool that, like, our government is set up that way and that we can have this change of powers and go into this new transition and a new time in our nation, because as time progresses, our government should progress in the same way.
Well, I mean, I think, every election is important, but what kind of gets on my nerves about this one is people who say, this is the most important election we've ever had. Okay, we've been a nation for like 240 years and had presidential elections for about 230, a little under that, and it is definitely not the most important one we've had. We've had elections that have caused half the country to break away. We've had elections where we didn't know there was going to be an actual transition of power from one party to another. So if you're stressing out about this is like the biggest election, I just want to let's be clear, this is not the most important election. It's really just another one of the many weird elections.
Yeah, I personally am honestly a little bit more concerned about the House of Representatives and the Senate, just because they don't get the same media attention that the presidential election gets. And I mean, in reality, the legislation is a little bit more important for posterity's sake and everything. So I feel like that should get a little bit more attention than Trump or Hillary.
But we'll just keep the mic. We'll just work back down this way now on the second question. So, just for the record, will you be voting?
I will not.
Because?
Because I'm too young.
Because you missed it. So, if you're 18 on election day, which is November the 8th in the state of Tennessee, that's Tennessee's law, you can vote on November the 8th. Let's see just a show of hands, a quiet show of hands. The 18 and overs, teachers, that would be every one of you. Okay, thank you. So the opportunity to participate is there for a good number of seniors. So you've missed it by a month, and you wish you could participate in it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, like we have said, it is an important election. Might not be the most important, but yeah, I think that any time that you get to be part of this country's, future, it's an important thing. So.
Okay, Grant, I know you're 17.
Yeah, I'm a baby. I was born in 2000, February 2000, so I won't be voting until the 2018 midterms, which, by the way, it's just important, 2018 midterms, which, by the way, is just as important as the presidential election, really. So,
Okay. Devin?
So I'm also 17. My birthday is in December. So I seriously did miss it by a month. And a year ago, I didn't think I would be so upset that I would be missing it. But here we are today, and I really wish I could vote. Because it's just like your civic duty. Like, you should, if you can vote, you should go vote. Like, it's your job as citizens.
I will actually be 18 this election. So I think it's very important that that you exercise your right to vote, because not everyone in the world has that right, or it's actually a privilege more than a right, but I think it's important to exercise that.
So let me stay with you just a minute, since you are a voter. How have you prepared? You've not voted yet in the early.
That's right.
You will vote sometime between now and November the 8th. So how have you prepared? Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So your preparation has come through. What?
Watching the debates.
Okay.
Then visited both websites. Looked at some third-party candidates. So I think I've finally made my decision. But
Okay. Okay. All right. So for everyone, and I think that represents a real difference. We were talking this morning in class about the influence of social media and the influence of the ways we consume information and the way we learn to make ourselves prepared to step into that booth and to cast that vote. So kind of a rehash of what we talked about this morning in class. How do you get your information?
obviously our parents is the main one. I know a lot of us look to our parents' views and take that on, and then also through social media. I think we learned this morning. Is that correct?
That's right.
I would say I definitely get my information from mass media, and then also the news and visiting websites, and then it's been a plus to be in AP government because now I really know. So just through the general outlets, and then I've done some of my own Googling.
Well, honestly, and maybe some of us can relate to this, I hear most from my parents because they love just complaining about the election and telling me their opinions and how when you start stocking up on food because, the end of days are near. And actually, the other day, one of my parents was like, I can't be stressing about my children. I have to stress about the election. And then I was like, oh, okay. But I do use social media outlets and I look at the news. But for me, parents is probably the biggest one because they really look at the news.
I actually try not to look at social media, and I try to stay away from the big, obviously Republican or obviously Democratic news channels, just because, that's the best way to become biased. So I kind of try to just watch the debates and get the facts on each candidate instead of, listening to the Five or Fox News,
Well, there's no shortage. One thing for sure with this election, there's no shortage of information. Some of that information is accurate, some of it is inaccurate. Some of it is more volatile than others. Some of it is pretty benign, but it's information, and we have all the information that we could stand to use. And we've engaged in some of that. And so what, is there a point, is there something that's exciting about this election as the people have talked and TV and social media is all lit up? Is there something about this that's exciting? Bella?
Well, I think I was in 4th grade when President Obama was elected. And that was a huge deal because, he was the first African American president. And I feel like the same thing is kind of happening now because we have the first, non-politician candidate, and then we have the first very potential female candidate. And so I think there's a lot of hype about it that just comes automatically from being the first of things.
Well, yeah, I think it's very exciting. Although I'll watch it and I'll watch the debates and I'll think it's hilarious. But then I kind of step back and I'm like, wait, one of these is going to be our president. When am I going to wake up? Where's my Mitt Romney and Obama? But no, I think it's very exciting. I don't know if that's a good thing for this, and that's probably why most people are interested because they're like, did you see what he tweeted? Or, did you see what she deleted? It's interesting.
I really think the most exciting thing about this election is kind of to go off of what Bella said, but I think it's a really good time, 2016 is a really good time for change, and we can see that everywhere, whether it's progressive or conservative, you can see that big changes are happening in America and all over the world, and America's a major power, so we have a lot of influence in what happens overseas, which take that as you will, but that's, I think, can be really good and exciting to see what comes from that, and we could have something really good the next 4 years or something not so good.
Well, it's certainly entertaining, but as Grant said, it's important to know that one of these is going to be our next president, so you have to look at the pros and cons of each and kind of make a conscious decision on your own what you think is best fit for the country.
So there's clearly some exciting things. I gotta think there's some things that bother you too. There's some things that you may have seen, that you may have heard, that conversations you may have been in with friends, some ways that Christians may have engaged in those conversations that bother you, some things that are on your mind. with regard to that, and kind of if you had that ability to go back and to recreate some of those, how would you do it? How would we be more respectful of each other?
I think it's important to know what you identify as first. Do you identify as a Christian or do you identify with a political party? And I think that can be the basis of the rest of your conversations that you have with other people. I mean, that's pretty much it.
I think it's really important to know that you can have your opinions and your own convictions and know that like somebody else has different ones and that like that's okay. Like that's what America's about, and it's okay if you have your differences. Like you can still be friends, you can still talk to each other, like you can talk about politics or not, but you can still be friendly. Like you don't have to like start a fight, you know, over social media or in person. You don't have to like take stickers off the back of cars. It's gonna be okay just because you have a difference in opinion.
Yeah, well, if you know me, I'm pretty low confrontational. So that's obviously the opposite of this election. And probably the worst thing that's come out of this is just seeing, you know, just at lunch or at practice, just seeing friends argue about this. And while if this is there's so many other things that unite us as Christians, unite us as a school. And we have to talk about the one or a few divisive things, and it just is really sad to me because why are we letting something that's way far away, it might affect us, but it really, most of us can't even vote. Why are we letting that dictate our conversations? We all have our own lives. Like we are not all Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. We have other things to talk about and things that can unite us rather than divide us. And that's, I think, what really bothers me about the election.
So for me, I know that when I'm passionate about something, it's easy to justify getting overwrought with emotion. And so, you know, it's easier to get into heated arguments. And I think that it's, with something this important, especially if it's, you know, this is the future of our country, there is something to be passionate about. But, you know, what I've come to realize is if I spent half the amount of energy on my passion in Christ, then I would not be worried about this election at all. Because, you know, it's in his hands. No matter what, we're going to be fine. So it's all just about, you know, redirecting that passion, I think.
Okay, thank you. One last question here. So we wake up 2 weeks from today and we have a new president. What's different? Not that very day, but what's different about your future?
That's hard. Okay. Well, I think that